Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be looking at different questions you guys have been asking me on the Discord. Basically, there's a ton of different questions being asked repetitively. What language should I learn? Do I need to be a genius to be a coder? And a lot of these are very repetitive and very, just use common sense to when you're asking these questions, guys. There's a couple of different things that you guys keep asking, like, which is the best IDE? What language do I have to learn? What's a project that I have to work on, right? A lot of these don't have just one answer. And I basically just want to focus on, how we're learning to code isn't that complicated. It's not that hard. You just have to follow a couple of different things. You don't have to make it this like super complex thing and be so nervous, right? If you just approach it with a good strategy, with a good mindset, there's no reason why you can't learn how to code, right? So let's get into these questions. First off, the most popular one of all time. So I want to learn coding. I don't know which language should I learn, right? This question is so popular. Everyone's asking this, and just look at it from a pretty pragmatic way, and just think, okay, what do I want to build, right? What interests you? If what you want to build is an iOS app, then go on the internet and look up, what languages do I have to learn to build an iOS app? And then from there, you'll get probably a couple of different options, right? Like maybe React Native, maybe like Swift, and you can just pick from there and kind of use this kind of strategy to figure out what language you have to learn. But the most important thing, guys, that you have to understand is your first language. It doesn't matter. The most important thing you want to focus on when you're learning to code for the first time is that you're understanding all these fundamentals, all the basic things that are transferable between languages. You want to understand them first, right? So things like for loops, functions, variables, if statements, all this stuff is used in every single language. And so you want to understand those the most, because you might switch languages. The first language you pick, you might not stick with forever, right? So you want to understand the foundations, because then what you can do is you can switch languages pretty easily. And obviously, learning a new language will be difficult, but if you have a strong grasp of the basics of the foundations, then you can move on pretty easily. So basically, guys, learning the language you should learn first does not matter at all. If it really bothers you, then really think about what interests you and kind of do your own research. But if you just want a basic answer, just learn JavaScript and just go from there. I guarantee you the first language does not matter. Right now, the second question. Sorry for the dumb question, but what is the best way to practice effectively? Right? A lot of you guys are asking, okay, I plan on learning how to code. What is the best strategy I can use? What should I do, right? And what I basically recommend, and what we talk about on this channel, is that you should basically make a plan of First and foremost, you want to code every single day. If you're trying to learn how to code, you have to code every single day. Maybe once in a while take a break, go out with some friends if you're not feeling it one day. But most of the time you want to be coding every single day and really make it into a habit. Because if you're not practicing what you're learning, if you're not physically coding, then in my opinion you're just wasting time. If you're not constantly coding, building something, then the notes you're taking and the videos you're watching aren't that much help. They don't really do that much, right? So make a plan, dedicate time every single day, make a calendar and think, okay, what am I going to do this week? I'm gonna complete this course that I'm starting, right? So for 2 weeks you're going to be just doing 1 hour a day of this course. And then the next week, you want to get really specific. You want to plan out every single day. So be like, okay, now that I finished this course, I'm going to start a project. And basically what you're going to want to do is give yourself deadlines as well. So you can say like, okay, these 2 weeks, I'm going to start and finish a project that I'm working on. And basically you want to have a plan all the time, so that when you're working, how many hours a day you're working, you have everything accounted for. So like, okay, I have to drive my kids to soccer practice at 5:00, but 7 to 9 is my coding time, and I know that I'm going to code then. And if I follow this plan, by 2 weeks I'll have a project finished. You can start a new project, and then slowly as you adapt and you get more comfortable, you'll realize, oh wow, 6 months have gone by and I built like 5 or 6 projects. So for me, the best way to practice is to make a plan and to stick to it and really, keep yourself accountable. Then this questions, I'm curious why data structures and algorithms are important for programming. So basically, data structures, algorithms are super important because, it exposes a ton of different things that you can use to solve complex problems. And and it just gives you a lot more to work with when you're developing, right? What I would say is that if you're brand new into coding, to not focus on data structures and algorithms just yet. Maybe get comfortable with if statements and for loops, and just get comfortable writing code first before you dive into this data structures and algorithm stuff. but data structures and algorithms are definitely important. And if you want to find a job eventually, if your goal with learning how to code is to get a job, then you definitely need to know data structures and algorithms before you start applying. But in the beginning stages, it's not that important, and I wouldn't worry about it just yet. But just keep it in mind that before you actually start working, and if you want a full-time job, you will have to learn data structures and algorithms. All interviews will have a coding type question where you have to solve a problem, and usually you will have to use data structures or some type of algorithm to solve it. So it definitely is important, to get a job, but at the beginning, not that much. Now, this person asks, I know programming is problem solving, but I have some trouble breaking down the problem into multiple steps, like computational thinking. How do I get better, right? So yeah, this is like the strategy that a lot of people use when they're faced with a complex problem, is to just break it down into small, actionable steps, and then solve them one by one, and then before you know it, you're done the whole project, right? And it's very difficult to do this. I struggle with it today, and I'm a full-time software developer, and all you can really do with this kind of stuff is just keep practicing, keep coding, keep working hard, and the more complex problems, the more obstacles that you can get over, then the better you'll get, and the faster you'll get, the more comfortable you'll get, and basically the more you'll grow as a software developer. The only way to really get better is to keep practicing and keep coding. So that's what I would recommend. I've definitely noticed that from the times where I was doing internships, I was really struggling at like when I got an intimidating task, and that I didn't know how to solve right away, that took a lot more effort. But as time goes on, guys, like you get more confident and you get better at it, and before you know it, you'll be pretty experienced, right? So I would just recommend keep practicing. Whenever there's a super hard problem that you can't solve, don't get overwhelmed. Just ask for help, step away from it, or whatever you got to do. But you never just want to panic, right? You just want to keep trying to solve the problem. And this person asks, hello, I'm new to coding, would like to start by building a website. Which is the best IDE? Right? So, IDEs don't matter. I use Visual Studio Code for some things when I'm using like JavaScript. Then I use I use Visual Studio when I'm using C#. There's a ton of different IDEs out there. It depends on which language you're learning, right, guys? If you're like starting to learn how to code and you're focusing on these little details, right? Like, oh my God, which IDE do I have to use, right? Which computer do I have to get? None of that stuff really matters. Just get something that works. And you don't want to focus on these little, the small details. You just want to start coding, develop a plan, start learning and start coding, and just, work on that stuff. The IDE you use, don't spend too much time on this, right? Just Google which IDE is the best for JavaScript, for example, right? If you're learning JavaScript, just Google that, take the first one and move on, right? All these fights about IDEs and all this, like when people are fanboys of one thing versus the other, it really doesn't matter. Who cares? Just use it and move on with your life. So this person asks, could you say what languages of programming companies demand and what salary is higher between backend and front end? There's a ton of different programming languages, right, that companies demand, all the way from JavaScript, Angular or React, to like C#, Python, Node.js. There's a ton of different languages. I'm sure you can find a job, on any kind of language you want, really. Between backend and front end, I would say salary is probably higher between the backend, probably highest with full stack because you're doing both. But really, there's front-end developers that make more than back-end. There's really no rules, right? It all just depends on, the area you live in, what kind of company it is, if it's a smaller startup or a bigger company. There's a lot of different variables. But again, yeah, I would say back-end probably makes more than a front-end developer. This question I love. I heard this before. Many people say that if your IQ is below 90, stop wasting your time to learn programming. Do you agree? Yes. If your IQ is below 90, stop. You're wasting your time. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know if 90 IQ is too low. I don't know if that means you're basically like you're not functioning. But this question is very interesting. A lot of people, I get this really often actually. You'll think a lot more often than you think. People think that you have to be like very smart to become a software developer. You have to have a super high IQ. None of that matters. Anyone can do it. Really, guys, I'm nothing special. I'm not smart by any means, but I just worked hard. I got a degree, and then I'm a software developer, right? Like, I don't have a super crazy high IQ, but just anyone can do it, and it might be intimidating at first. I definitely get that. There was definitely times where I wanted to give up, but as with anything, if you just work hard and you stick to your plan, you build side projects, and you keep making it more complex, as time goes on, you'll see 6 months, a year goes by, and you'll genuinely be comfortable and confident with your coding abilities, right? So you don't have to have a super high IQ. You don't have to be Einstein or some next genius to be a software developer. Guys, get this idea out of your head. It's not true. Anyone can do it. I'm a living testament to that. I'm just, you know, an average normal guy, you know, just working for a living, right? So guys, I hope you enjoyed this little Q&A that we had on the Discord. Let me know if you like this kind of content. I'll make more of it in the future. I hope I was able to answer any questions that you guys might have and you were too afraid to ask. If you guys have any more questions, as always, you know, feel free to come on the Discord, ask a question. Someone will answer you. I'm on there pretty often. Leave a comment down below as well if you have any questions. And as always, guys, if you enjoy the content, leave a like, subscribe to the channel. It helps me out so much, and I appreciate it so much. As always, guys, you know, enjoy your day, enjoy your coding, and take it easy.